From the historic and distinctive Mediterranean atmosphere of the unique round-the-houses circuit at Monaco, the Grand Prix scene has made a huge transatlantic leap to downtown Detroit in Michigan, USA. Unlike Monaco, the new circuit is used in an anti-clockwise direction and is all straights and corners rather than curvy twists and turns. But, like Monaco, it has a tunnel and is very tough on brakes and transmissions. None of the drivers have seen it before, so they all start equal after the frenzied rush to get here for round 7 of the World Championship. Only 6 points separate the top 6, with Alain Prost 1 ahead of John Watson, Pironi 3rd, Rosberg 4th, Monaco winner Patrese 5th and Niki Lauda 6th. And after an extremely contentious practice period, once again it's Alain Prost in pole position, with Andrea de Cesaris 2nd, Rosberg 3rd, Pironi 4th, Winkelhock 5th and Giacomelli 6th. John Watson's down in 17th, and amazingly, world champion Nelson Piquet's failed to qualify. But for the crowd watching the first Detroit Grand Prix, rapid chaos and confusion. Because when the race started, into the lead went Alain Prost, but rapidly, indeed on lap 7, Riccardo Patrese there in the Brabham hit Roberto Guerrero's ensign after having trouble with Elio De Angelis's Lotus. Then, with Rosberg in 2nd place, Pironi in 3rd, Mansell in 4th, Giacomelli in 5th, Chiva in 6th, more excitement as Patrese's car caught fire. The untried organisation fumbled into action, as you see, with a lot of drama with the fire extinguisher. But in the end, Patrese's car fire was put out, and then, with confusion all round the course and worry about the dangers of cars on the racing line, out went the red flag. The race was stopped on lap 7, and Alain Prost, who had been in the lead by about 3 seconds from Keke Rosberg, got out of his car and the debris was cleared up all around the circuit. But it revealed then that a lot of other cars were out too. Mauro Baldi was out. Alain Prost got out of his car with his injured foot from Monaco, giving him trouble. Mauro Baldi's car was out. There it is, being craned off the circuit. So was Jarier and Bursell and Alboreto and Winkelhock and Andrea de Cesaris, who had been so superb in practice. Riccardo Patrese walks in, the man who won at Monaco and 2 World Championship sports events in the last 3 weeks. And Winkelhock, disconsolately after a fine 5th position, is in the pits. Well, to the confusion of everybody, it got sorted out in the end, and an hour later we now see Alain Prost in his car for the 2nd grid, with the race about to start. Only 18 starters, 62 laps in all, including that first 6, and in 2nd position on the grid Rosberg with Pironi, Mansell, Giacomelli and Chiva, and the race is going to be decided by adding the time of the first 6 laps to the time of the remaining 56 laps as they go off on the warm-up lap.
Well, here we are on this brand new circuit, first time out, never raced on before. That's one of the few curvy corners. The first corner, they call it turn 1 and turn 2 as it tightens up for the second half. It's all stop, turn and squirt it down the straight, the circuit. Very much, mostly short, very slow right-angle corners. This, in a way, is a little bit of a benefit to the drivers, although it's rather dull in principle, because it does not allow the cars to build up these high G-forces that have been causing them so many physical problems. And I anticipate that this track will probably be lighter physically than a lot of the really difficult tracks. Round one of the many hairpins, first gear, the cars go so slowly there that they're practically stalling their engines. They're having to dip the clutch, some of the drivers. Accelerating way out through another 90. Down the straight now, we're going round the back of the circuit, heading along parallel to the river. So they go down to and run along in the end. There's Alain Prost, poleman, led very comfortably, looked very comfortable in the lead in the first part. There's been quite a few complaints by the drivers that the track is just too narrow. Certainly, it's the organisers. The deficiencies of being able to remove cars from the track like they do at Monte Carlo with cranes was shown up when they had to stop the race when there were 2 cars off, not really even on the racing line. And they then took an inordinately long time to get this race restarted. And of course our fear here, and probably everybody's there, is that wasn't a very major incident, and any sort of even minor incident could cause them to stop the race again. And if we have another hour's delay, I mean, we could get 2 or 3 more incidents like that in a race of this length. And of course, at that point, we'll be worrying about daylight, quite honestly. So we've got our problems. We're running well behind schedule now. And here they go into the tunnel. This is now heading back towards the start-finish line. It's 2.5 miles to circuit, very slow average speed, 82 miles an hour or thereabouts was the pole qualifying. This is their Monaco-type tunnel, which pleases them. See, extra lighting for the cars in that bright sunlight, out of the tunnel, onto the straight. Then they have a couple of little kinks to deal with before they come back onto the start finish line. Now this is just coming up the start finish line where it goes left, right, left. There's the pit road on the left as Alan Prost draws slowly into pole position to bring the field, trying to get the field to close up behind him so as not to cook clutch and engine. So they wait for the red light when all the field are stationary.
So let's hope we get it right this time. 56 laps we reckon to go to make up the 62 laps in all after the first 6-lap part. Alain Prost in pole position, Keke Rosberg in second position because Andrea de Cesaris is out, Pironi third on the grid, Mansell fourth, Giacomelli fifth, and Eddie Cheever in sixth position. And watch for the lights as ever. The grid is now fully formed and away. Prost or Rosberg into the first corner. And it's a very close thing indeed. Keke Rosberg right up alongside Alain Prost, but Prost in the turbocharged Renault has achieved what he desperately needed to achieve. He's got away in the lead with Pironi in fourth place, with Giacomelli in fifth position. Pironi in third position, not fourth. Giacomelli in fourth position. Eddie Cheever well up in the Talbot in fifth place. Down to the turn 5 left-hander, up to turn 7 now, another left-hander which follows the right that you see them on.
Well, a little bit crowded around the hairpin, but a little bit of a bump there. But a terrific start by Keke Rosberg from the staggered grid. He made a marvellous start. He got his nose in front of Prost, but then the power of the turbo took over, and Prost managed to get back alongside. And of course he had the inside line for the corner. It was a shame for Rosberg. He made a marvellous start. He nearly made it, but he did need to get off in the lead because Prost has got this 3.5 or so seconds cushion because the two race times add together. Don't forget, we're now running as 2 heats with times added together. So we'll be a little bit complicated in sorting out exactly where everybody are, because where they are on the road is not necessarily where they are in the race. But at the moment it is in race and road order, with Prost leading, albeit by a few tenths here, and Rosberg adding up to a total of about 4 seconds, if you now understand what I'm trying to say.
Diving out of the Atwater tunnel, Alain Prost with his injured foot, don't forget, it's going to be very tiring for him, leading Keke Rosberg in the Williams, the man who has finished second several times this season and is desperately hungry for a first place. In third position, Didier Pironi in the Ferrari.
Yes, in the first part of the race, Pironi built up the now well-familiar Ferrari Q behind him, with the power of the turbocharger keeping him in front of the others along the straights, slow around the corners, the Q building up, but able to do nothing about him. I think it's quite likely that will happen again. But he's going well at the moment, and in fact his pursuers are struggling to keep up with him right now.
8 laps completed and turbo cars in first and third position. Renault leads, Ferrari third, sandwiching Keke Rosberg ahead of Giacomelli fourth, and then Eddie Cheever in the V12 Matra engine Talbot, much higher up than they have been, and they have reverted to the JS17 car after the disastrous introduction of the JS19 at Monaco, and Eddie Cheever's driving a very, very steady race. Pironi, Giacomelli, there's Cheever in fifth position, and Pironi third, the Frenchman who won at San Marino, and now is getting very tight for third position, because Giacomelli in fourth place, Pironi ahead of him in third, and Cheever in fifth position are in a tight little bunch by themselves, with Alain Prost leading, with Keke Rosberg in second place, and these 3 cars tripping each other up all around the circuit and letting the first 2 actually get away.
Yes, we've got a clear view already of the Ferrari, how he's pulling away on the straights, and then see Giacomelli closing up to right behind him when we get to the corners.
And that's Salazar. Eliseo Salazar has gone into the barrier in the ATS and knocked off the offside front wheel. He's had a terrible season, Salazar. He's either failed to qualify or had to retire in every race except one this year. And the very likeable, quiet Chilean is out again, this time at Detroit. Not understandably looking very happy with things as Alain Prost goes through. Now Keke Rosberg, who was 6 seconds behind him, has closed right up and is giving the Frenchman in the Renault a pretty hard time. And Prost, we are conscious all the time, has got this damaged foot after Monaco. You'll remember that tremendous crash he had at Monaco, and the ATS is right on the racing line. Let us hope that the marshals somehow can drag it out of the way as Rosberg is right up with the leader.
Yes, they're not heavy. They should be able to manhandle that just back a little bit down the track and clear it off the racing line to give the drivers a clear exit. Would certainly help. It's interesting because after Prost had pulled away a little bit, looking a little bit, and here we've got a replay. In the background, you'll see Salazar's car just go straight on. He obviously went a little bit wide on the corner, got the series it, and there we go, crunch. Off comes the right-hand front wheel, car buried in the wall. Salazar completely unhurt, but it would be nice if Marshall can just push that back out of the way. Now, as I was saying, Rosberg has now closed right back up to Prost again. Prost looked to be very dominant in the first part of the race before it was unfortunately stopped then. He then threatened to dominate this race, and here is Rosberg actually having a go. Now Rosberg is stuck with the problem of being in the car with less power, very much inferior on the power stakes, so it's a traditional problem. The turbos muscling their way away from corners too fast to do anything about, and then not being quite as manoeuvrable around the corners.
And while Alain Prost with Keke Rosberg in his wheel tracks are battling for the lead, replay.
Yes, there's Rosberg. It's a very ambitious spot to have a go, but and he showed in the nose a little bit, but Prost with really no trouble then. The only problem is if he's planning to pass there, he shouldn't really show Prost his plans in order that he can plan a counter.
Lap 22 then in this 62 lap race, and behind these two as Rosberg tries again in exactly the same point. Really, he better be careful because he's signalling his intentions now to Prost, the leader, who will be very careful to shut the door in advance. But behind these two, still the battle for third place raging, with Pironi in third place, Giacomelli right behind him in fourth place. And there is Rosberg, and Eddie Cheever is still fifth, and again Rosberg shows his nose to Alain Prost, and he's through. What is he? Yes, right round the outside, nearly hitting the wall, and Prost slows right down.
Yeah, terrific manoeuvre there, but I think Prost must have missed a gear or something coming out of that corner. He seemed to have a problem and not accelerate, but Rosberg seized his opportunity, took the difficult way round. The cars did have a little bump, they touched, but Prost, I think, was in a little bit of trouble. He did the right thing. He kept well clear, didn't force the point. And, of course, Rosberg went a little bit wide on the marbles. But here we see the thing again. This is the corner before. Rosberg shows him his nose a little bit, but he's not going to pass there. And then you watch, Prost doesn't seem to accelerate. So Rosberg accelerates, goes around the outside. There they have a little touch of the front wheel, a little bumping and things. But something seems to be wrong with Prost's car. Rosberg is through into the lead that he needs. He has now got to work hard to kill the lead that Prost has established over him from the first half, and then to get away and set things up properly.
Now, 4 cars battling for third position because Niki Lauda is in 6th place and he's close right up to Eddie Cheever in the Talbot. And it's Pironi 3rd, Giacomelli 4th, Cheever 5th and Niki Lauda 6th. On the enormously, and nearly losing it there, and through goes Cheever, Eddie Cheever passing Bruno Giacomelli, and that gives Niki Lauda the chance to close up.
Well, Giacomelli did very well to hold that slide. He was, I would have said he'd pretty well lost it. He's been hanging on there for a long time. That's the first change we've seen in that battle, but it's been a roaring battle for some laps now. And there goes Lauda getting inside Giacomelli, who I think lost concentration a little bit and led him through, and so they've both nipped by. Now we're going to see if Cheever and or Lauda can do anything about this red chicane that they've got in front of them that's always proved so difficult to pass. A wonderfully powerful engine that the Ferrari's got, but unfortunately for both their own drivers. Here we see Lauda locking that inside that front wheel a little bit, just little puffs of smoke off the locked wheel, and he's through safely and off and away.
And it's the tyre story again in this race. On Michelin is Alain Prost, and Alain Prost is now ahead of Pironi. Rosberg in the lead. Keke Rosberg is ahead of Alain Prost. Down to second position goes the Frenchman, and Keke Rosberg, thirsting for his first Grand Prix win after 3 seconds, is in the lead.
Yes, Rosberg looks well established now. Prost has been in some sort of trouble. At various points on the circuit, he seems to slow as if he can't get gears or the car doesn't accelerate. Something is definitely wrong with his car, but he'll hold on to his position. And of course, he's fallen back into the clutches of that big battle, but they'll be anxious to get him out of the way and running.
Alain Prost is leading the World Championship, but behind this lot and storming up through the field is John Watson, who is in 17th place on the grid. He started up to 13th position, and now he's in 10th place as we watch this battle, with Keke Rosberg now leading and pulling away from Alain Prost, who is holding up, obviously holding up, the Ferrari of Pironi, who is in 3rd position. Eddie Cheever is in 4th place. Niki Lauda is in 5th position. Bruno Giacomelli dropping back in 6th. And the problem, of course, is how can you possibly get past on a circuit like this?
Yes, with great difficulty. Over the top is probably the easiest way, but it tends to result in damage. That's the only problem. And here's Pironi having a go at Alain Prost. Yes, he's got him, which is just as well, because Prost got a problem around one of those hairpins we saw just now when he practically came to a halt. And the circuit is so narrow that all the others had to just queue up behind him. There was nothing that they could do. Anyway, Pironi's through. Now, can the others get through? Because they haven't got the same power advantage that Pironi's got, and the Renault will go away from the straights. Here is Cheever, right up his chuff, trying to get around it.
And Watson is right up with Lauda. John Watson, who got up from... He's driving an absolutely incredible race. He's going through the field like a hot knife through butter. He's up to 7th position behind his teammate Niki Lauda. So there is Pironi 2nd. Prost is in 3rd position. Cheever is 4th. And Lauda, there is Lauda in 5th position. Watson is 6th. And Lauda's going through the field now. He is ahead of Prost. And
yes,
Watson
Cheever and Lauda have got past Prost there. But... of course, Watson now comes upon the real problem for the first time, because he's got this mobile chicane in the form of the red Ferrari in front of him, and that has so far successfully denied any of the conventionally aspirated engines to pass him.
Well, there's Cheever, and Watson is through. He's passed Alain Prost. So now Pironi, Cheever, Watson, Lauda, Prost and Giacomelli go through, and it's still Keke Rosberg out in front and extending his lead, because he's got a clear circuit in front of him in the new FW08 Williams, only in its 3rd race. There's Lauda behind Cheever. So Pironi 2nd, Cheever 3rd, Lauda 4th, Watson 5th, Giacomelli 6th, and Prost is back to 7th position, which means he is out of the World Championship points. And when this race started, Alain Prost was 1 point ahead of John Watson, who seems to be going right through the field, but now he's got the really tough problem, because he's got the quick men in front of him. Pironi, Cheever, Lauda, John Watson, Giacomelli. Well, this Detroit Grand Prix may have been an hour late getting away. Yes, Giacomelli in 5th position ahead of John Watson. So Keke Rosberg leading from Pironi, Cheever, Niki Lauda in 4th place, Giacomelli in 5th, and John Watson in 6th position. And it's now a question of who has got the right tyres as much as anything else. Pironi on Michelin and Cheever. And the 2 Alfa Romeos were, but De Cesaris out of the race. And of course, the McLarens are as well. Now look at John Watson. John Watson is through. He's past Giacomelli now. So he's up to 5th position behind his teammate Nicky Lauda, and John Watson has come up from 13th to 5th position.
Yes, and when he got clear of the bunch that he was involved in before, he really flew up to this bunch. He's slowed down a lot now because he's stuck in the queue. It's really a question of how Lauda will react, because Watson's going to be looking for a way round, but at the same time Lauda's been looking for a long time yet and hasn't found one. It's a question of whether he thinks that Lauda's climbing all over the back of Chiva now, but can't quite do it. He was looking for a way through there, but certainly the sight of Watson in his mirror has... here we see Watson going past Giacomelli, which was a fairly straightforward manoeuvre. He got a good slingshot out of the previous corner, good momentum, and that's carried him past Giacomelli on the straight.
Well, let us not forget that Keke Rosberg is still ahead of this lot, leading again, and he has done in Grand Prix in the past, and he is way out in front as Giacomelli has another go at John Watson. John Watson holds him back, and Giacomelli is still in 6th place and trying again. And off!
Oh dear, and that was a bit naughty by Giacomelli, but very lucky for Watson that he didn't get damaged, because Giacomelli dived inside at a really impossible place. Watson made a mistake at the previous corner. Giacomelli had to go there, but that was really uncalled for, and a great shame, because he has a reputation for impetuosity, and he's done this here. We're going to see it again. Now he's not in a position to pass. It's going to a very tight right hand, and he just has a stab at it. There's nothing Watson can do from there. He's still within his rights. Giacomelli locks everything up, can't get out of the way. Luckily it was a side blow on Watson's rear wheel, and for him, because he would have been a bit of an innocent victim there, and that just swipes Giacomelli's front wheel off, so he trickles into the wall just to make sure it comes off properly, and then sensibly drives it over to the other side of the track to park.
And Prost in the pits, Alain Prost, who led and dropped right back out of contention, looks as though he is now effectively out of the race, and once again we have the story of the Renaults having shown so much promise only to fail in the race. And there is the order, and we're looking at the battle for 2nd position with Didier Pironi in the Ferrari, followed by Eddie Cheever in 3rd place. Nicky Lauda is 4th. John Watson right behind them in 5th position, and the gap between Keke Rosberg, the leader, and Pironi in 2nd place is just under 21 seconds. So Keke Rosberg really only has to keep going, although there's a long way in the race still to go in order to win. They go past Salazar's broken motor car, with Cheever 3rd, Lauda 4th, Watson 5th.
An amazing turnaround for McLaren's in this race, because they really had a nightmare. It was Watson having a go at Lauda, and he's through. Watson just came out. Lauda obviously let him through there. That was a clear case of that. He probably feels that Watson... Well, he can see that Watson's going very well indeed. He probably feels that he's had a long enough shot to doing something about it, so the least he can do is let his teammate have a crack at it. I suspect they may well be running different compounds of tyre. This has happened in the past in Belgium when John Watson won. Lauda was well ahead of him and then slowed down. McLaren's like to take a double punt on the tyres, and as a result of that they're leading the Constructors' Championship. But they had a nightmare practice, so they were both in double figures. Watson was 17th on the grid, but look at him now. He's really storming.
And he's really storming and taking Cheever through into 3rd position. From 13th place goes John Watson, and by the way, behind this lot in 6th position is Jacques Lafitte in the 2nd of the 2 Talbots. So Pironi, and now Watson's going through into 2nd position. Unbelievable, but he's done it.
What an amazing burst of driving. He's done on one lap, overtaken 3 cars when everybody else has spent the whole race failing to overtake anybody. Absolutely marvellous stuff by Watson, but it does underline the fact, and look at the way he's just streaking away too. It underlines the fact, I think he must be on a different tyre compound, and they're all a bit of they're educated guesses what the choice of tyre compound very often, especially on a strange circuit like this. Here we see Watson again attacking Cheever, and he squeezes through really well because he gets his car fully alongside Cheever. Cheever's got no room, he can't come into the corner, and he quite rightly and safely doesn't. And Watson has really forced his way through. That was good, forceful driving, but it was experience, and he gave Cheever enough of him to see. So round they go, and here we see the completion of this magic lap for John Watson as he gets inside Pironi in a more straightforward braking manoeuvre. I think Pironi is not really in a position to fight back, and Watson is now pulling away from this group at a really huge speed.
Rosberg leads, Watson now second, Pironi third, just ahead of Cheever. Lauda in fifth position and Jacques Lafitte out of sight but catching up in sixth position. Here is the battle. Pironi in the Scarlet Ferrari and Cheever's driving the race of his life. They've really got the Talbot absolutely tweaked up right for this circuit.
The question now is whether Watson can catch Rosberg. And here is Lauda having a go inside Cheever, and he's managed to do exactly what John Watson did, just squeezed
through into fourth position with Pironi there, then Lauda, then Cheever, with Keke Rosberg still in the lead. Now let's look again. There is Lauda, he comes out from behind Cheever's car, goes up alongside him, and once again, as before with other drivers, denies Cheever the line, who has to run wide. Niki Lauda, with a smooth manoeuvre, keeps his line and moves up a place. And there is Lauda past Pironi, and now Cheever's having a go at Pironi. This really is a race of changes all the way round, but in the front still is Keke Rosberg, but John Watson, you can't see it, we can. John Watson is closing up on Keke Rosberg, having flown through the field from that lowly position, starting on the grid in 17th place and nearly losing it. Niki Lauda holds it till he goes into the Atwater tunnel. Remembering,
of course, that for Watson, he hasn't just got to catch Rosberg and then pass him. He then has to build a very considerable lead on Rosberg, because he had a large deficit from the first heat of something like 15 seconds or something like that. So he needs to build a big lead to get away.
Yes, Rosberg has got to be some 13.2 seconds, we calculate, behind Watson, if Watson were to be in the lead overall. But Watson's still got to catch him, never mind get past him, never mind build up a 13-second cushion ahead of him. And Watson is the fastest man on the circuit, look, 1 minute 51.25, a speed of just under 81 miles an hour, which when you see this Detroit circuit as they go past Giacomelli's broken car seems almost unbelievable. It is so twisty. Lauda, Pironi, Cheever, third, fourth and fifth, and Lafitte in sixth place.
And there goes Cheever squeezing through. Excellent manoeuvre. He did it where Rosberg was trying to do it to Prost, but they're not getting away from Pironi with anything like the alacrity that John Watson showed. And there's Watson in the lead of the race. We didn't see him pass it, but that's Rosberg behind him, so Watson has just taken the lead on the road. But as far as the overall race is concerned, he's still got something like 13 seconds to go to pull away. But by God, is he streaking away? And it must be that he's running different tyres to Lauda, and therefore probably different to a lot of other. Here we see it again. He's just pulling out of the slipstream into the out-braking position, taking the inside line for the corner, and there goes Keke Rosberg's immediate lead, but not his overall lead.
37 accumulated laps, including the 6 of the first part completed. John Watson in the lead then. Now, can he pull away from Rosberg? His teammate Lauda in third position. Cheever fourth in the Talbot. Pironi down to fifth in the Ferrari. Jacques Lafitte is gaining. And the Talbots are going marvellously, but not nearly as well as John Watson. 3 Grand Prix victories behind him. Austria in 1976, Britain in 1981, Belgium this year, and the man that a lot of people wrote off when McLaren were in the doldrums is proving, and that's Lauda. Niki Lauda out of the race. Well, I wonder if this is something wrong with Lauda's car that might be replicated in Watson's, because Niki's obviously perfectly all right. The car doesn't look damaged at all. But Niki Lauda then out of the race, and he was in third position, but his teammate now in the lead as one of the Renaults go through. And incidentally, René Arnoux, that we haven't seen anything of, is actually still circulating, but well down the field and well out of World Championship points, as of course is Alain Prost, who was leading the championship. So Niki Lauda walks disconsolately away. And that's Pironi running very wide, and he's lost a lot of time there. He's lost his rhythm, and it's very easy on a circuit like this where one corner follows another to do just that. And Cheever is right up with the second place man, Keke Rosberg.
Yeah, so this must mean that Rosberg's in a bit of trouble. He's slowing down. Watson's going from strength to strength, but we can't tell quite what it is, but we do know that Rosberg is very hard on his tyres normally. He wears them an awful lot, and it may just be that that's the situation, because without having any concrete evidence from where we are, it would seem that it would appear that Watson's performance is very much down to his tyres, and I think Cheever was just getting away a bit.
Watson leads, and Cheever is up into second place on lap 42 on accumulation, and Rosberg dropping right back. He's obviously in trouble, and Eddie Cheever is higher in a Grand Prix than he has ever been in his life. And once again into the pits goes a Renault, but this time it is not Prost, it is René Arnoux, and Renault are failing to get the reliability that they need to finish higher. John Watson in the lead. In second place is Eddie Cheever. Third is Keke Rosberg. In fourth position now, that's Nigel Mansell. Nigel Mansell in the John Player Special is out of the race, having driven a marvellous race at Monaco on a very similar course where he finished in fourth position. He's not going to do that here. The car, Nigel Mansell is trying to move the car a bit further up, and look at the nose of Lafitte's car. He's obviously gone into something, and it must have been another car, because if he had gone into the wall, it's Rosberg. He must have gone into the tail of Rosberg's car in front of him.
I think it might have been Pironi in the Ferrari before, when we saw, because we didn't see what happened, how Pironi went wide then, but Lafitte was in the area with him at the time, and we hadn't seen him since. But let's hope it doesn't affect the performance of his car. He still seems to be racing well, and it may be that a little bit of damage like that. The front fins are really only fins, they're not wings. A lot of them, like the McLaren we're looking at now, don't even run them. They don't do a lot, so hopefully it's not affecting his aerodynamics too badly.
And look at that lot. Cheever in second position. There is Lafitte, and he's ahead of Rosberg now. So the two Talbots are in second and third positions. Cheever in second place, Lafitte is third, Rosberg is fourth, Didier Pironi is in fifth place, and up into sixth position comes Derek Daly, the Irishman, in the second of the two Williams cars. Well, fast and furious with a vengeance Detroit Grand Prix. There is Lafitte chasing his teammate Cheever. He's in third position, and it's the JS17 Talbot, not the new one, and Pironi goes through and takes Rosberg. So Pironi moves up into fourth position. Down to fifth place goes Rosberg. In sixth position is Derek Daly, and I wonder if Rosberg is going to be able to keep the car going to at least get one championship point. And here's a replay of Pironi going through and taking the Finnish driver Keke Rosberg, moving up Pironi into fourth position. So Cheever goes through, now Pironi. And on lap 48 in this race, which we anticipate will run for 62 laps, Watson, Cheever, Lafitte, Pironi fourth, Rosberg fifth, and Derek Daly in sixth position. So both the Talbots, and there is Cheever's in second place, and both the Williams cars are in the first six places, with the single McLaren left now of John Watson. There it is in the lead on lap 62.
Yes, Watson leading comfortably. Of course, remember that it's 2 hours this race duration, 2 hours or 200 miles, whichever's the shorter, and the average speed being well under 100 miles an hour. Therefore, obviously, it's going to be the 2 hour rule. So we don't know exactly how many laps they'll do. Depends rather where the cars are positioned on the circuit when 2 hours is up.
Well, John Watson could be on his last lap now. It's a little in the lap of the gods. There's the pit signal. You're in first position, plus 25 seconds with 2 laps to go.
Yes, well, that's what the team is speculating, but we have it a bit marginal as to whether it's going to be 1 or 2 more laps, depending on when it finishes. I think it might only be 1, but the team will always take the precaution of giving him the most possible number, because the most awful thing that can happen to a driver is you signal him 1 lap to go, he comes around thinking he's won, slows down, the checkered flag doesn't come out, and have in my career actually seen races lost like that. So they'll give him 2 laps to go and then hope that he gets the checkered flag and notices it this time.
Well, John Watson on his way surely to his 4th Grand Prix in his career, and this is his 128th Grand Prix into what now surely is the last lap. He goes round the combined turn 1 and turn 2 on to the right-hander, and Cheever behind him in 2nd position. And if Cheever finishes in that place, it's going to be a superb drive for him and will get his morale back, because he had a very poor season with Osella before he joined the Talbot team this year. So Eddie Cheever in 2nd place. John Watson well away now in the lead on what we are virtually certain is his last lap in this memorable Detroit Grand Prix. There he is. Well, he won in Austria, he won in Britain, he won in Belgium.
There we are, greatest sight in Grand Prix racing for a driver. Such a big lead, they don't even have to put his plus on there. He's just going to cruise around. He may not even need that 1 extra lap that they're signalling him. But a wonderful drive by John Watson, really aggressive stuff when he needed it without ever taking any risks. He used undoubtedly he's had a car advantage, but he's used it to absolute perfection, and the highlight of the race without any doubt was Watson going through past 3 cars on 1 lap to get clear of the big hang-up was the potential group held up by the Ferrari, and then get off, and it was really a bit of a walkover from there on. But a great race, and Watson that'll take him into the lead of the World Championship, and he must be a very happy man.
And as he goes into the Atwater Tunnel, we reckon, we've done a quick check on the timings, and we reckon that this is indeed his last lap. We've seen the board which tells him that, and John Watson now passes Salazar's car a 2nd time. His McLaren has run absolutely faultlessly. He's obviously chosen the right tyres, and there is the finish official. The checkered flag goes, and John Watson has, in the McLaren, won his 4th Grand Prix in his career, the 3rd race won by McLaren out of 7 this year. Eddie Cheever there coming up to finish in 2nd place, and behind him Didier Pironi gets another good points position, and without a doubt, quick mental check, John Watson must have moved into the lead of the World Championship as Rosberg comes through in 4th position in front of his teammate Derek Daly. John Watson tours in on his wind-down lap, and Jacques Lafitte, yes, there's the confirmation, 9 points for Watson, 6 for Cheever, 4 for Pironi, 3 for Rosberg, 2 for Daly, and 1 point, 1 valuable point for Jacques Lafitte. And as we look at the Renaissance Centre, there is the World Championship situation. John Watson now leads Pironi by 6 points, 2 ahead of Prost, 1 ahead of Rosberg, 4 behind in 5th position is Riccardo Patrese, and in 5th place Niki Lauda. And we now look forward to the Canadian Grand Prix very shortly, indeed next week.
Great drive. Was it a difficult drive for you?
Well, I'm very happy we had a restart in the race, because I think definitely had some advantage afterwards. But otherwise the car ran fantastic, the tyres were fantastic, and it was super.
The driver was fantastic, John. Let me see the palm of your shifting hand.
Oh, it's no
Show it
problem.
to the camera. Hey, not nary a blister, huh?
Not a blister, no.
A great car. Listen, can you go on and win the championship?
Well, we'll try. That's the purpose of racing. So I've got 26 points, and I think for me this victory was a little bit unexpected. So we've got to work hard and make sure we do the same in the others.
Okay, that's John Watson. I would hate to be with the person that sits next to me on the plane tonight.
And all our hearts go with John Watson in the hope that he will be world champion. But he's got a chance to make up another 9 points at Canada next Sunday, and we hope that as ever you're going to join us. Here at Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix, one man's name is on everyone's lips. Ayrton Senna, the brilliant young Brazilian, whose pole position and victory in Portugal 2 weeks ago has been followed by pole position again for today's race. The hopes of the fanatically pro-Ferrari crowd run high though, for Michele Alboreto leads the Drivers' Championship from Senna and Prost. And Ferrari only trail JPS Team Lotus by 1 point in the Constructors' Championship. But today, Alboreto is only 4th on the grid, behind Senna, Rosberg and De Angelis, with Britain's drivers Nigel Mansell 7th, Derek Warwick a despondent 14th, Jonathan Palmer an encouraging 17th in his new Zach Speed, and Martin Brundle 25th. Yesterday, Martin crashed at high speed when his brakes failed, but today he's perfectly okay. Now watch this very carefully. Last year at the start, Niki Lauda and Rosberg were left on the line and had to recover. And it's absolutely critical, of course, that they get away cleanly and smoothly when the lights go from red to green for this 60-lap race, 188 miles, just a whisker short of it. Senna's away beautifully, so is De Angelis. Up comes Alboreto into 3rd position. Behind Alboreto already is Alain Prost in 4th position as they stream round the Tamburello in 5th gear. It's Senna leading, De Angelis 2nd, Alboreto is in 3rd position, Prost is in 4th position, and Keke Rosberg challenging for 5th with Nigel Mansell right behind it in 6th position. In 7th place, it's Niki Lauda as they go up to the Tosa bend. That's a tight hairpin down into 2nd gear. Senna is into it first. Now, as they go round and away uphill.
And Prost now having a look round the back of Alboreto's car, but we're off to a pretty clean start, and one would have to say that all the favourites are up at the front at the moment.
But it's Senna leading, De Angelis 2nd, Prost right up with Alboreto. Behind Prost is the Williams of Keke Rosberg. Behind Rosberg is Niki Lauda. And now, are we going to see the beautifully balanced McLarens, which always go better during the race than they do during practice on account of the fact that they can't use a very high boost during practice, come up through the field? But bad news for Jonathan Palmer and his followers. Into the pit on the very first lap goes the British driver in his Zach Speed car, in which he's had a fair amount of trouble in practice. And the race order now is Senna, the pole position man, winner in Portugal, leading. His teammate De Angelis right up with him in 2nd place. There is Alboreto. 4th is Prost. 5th is Rosberg. Then there's Nigel Mansell. So both the Williams cars are in the top 6 as De Angelis. Now Alboreto with Prost. I was going to say tight up behind him, but he's not tight enough up behind him to start to challenge Alboreto in the Ferrari for 3rd position. Senna, De Angelis.
And the Lotuses really do look beautifully balanced on their chassis. The cars look very nice to drive, and De Angelis, who after all has been number 1 at Lotus for a couple of years now, or sort of performing as number 1, will be giving everything to try and stop the surge through to seniority of Ayrton Senna. There is one of the Renaults.
It's Derek Warwick, who's had a dreadfully fraught practice, a very, very unhappy man on both Friday and Saturday. So the race is definitely between these 4 cars. Ayrton Senna leading in the dry just as convincingly as he led in the wet at Estoril for the Portuguese Grand Prix 2 weeks ago. leading his teammate Elio De Angelis. And by the way, it is not appreciated by everybody that the reason Elio De Angelis dropped back through the field to 4th position in Portugal was because he actually had a slow puncture in one of his front wheels, and that's Mauro Baldi in the Spirit car. Senna leads, De Angelis second, Prost right up with Alboreto in 3rd place. Those 4 pulling away from Rosberg 5th, Lauda 6th, Piquet 7th, Mansell 8th, Chiva 9th, Boutsen 10th, De Cesaris 11th, Johansson in 12th position, Warwick is in 15th place and Brundle is 19th.
So Lauda has got to get past Rosberg, which in fact he has now done. So Lauda is now in clear 5th place, and the question now is whether he can close that gap. Prost is undoubtedly being a little bit held up by Alboreto, but he's very much in contention.
What a wonderful scrap for the first 4 places, with Prost trying to take Alboreto on the inside. Alboreto having nothing of it, keeping the inside line and accelerating up towards the Rettifilio, from it and onto the Piratella.
And that was naughty by Alboreto. He pushed Prost onto the grass. Alboreto was slow through that corner, and he really oughtn't to have done that. But yes, he's looking guiltily in his mirror there, just to have a look, see where Prost was. But he knew Prost was beside him at that point, and I think Prost would have every justification in being pretty angry.
That's Eno walking in, Francois Eno, and already Berger in the BMW-powered Arrows and Riccardo Patrese in the Alfa Romeo have had turbo trouble. I suspect that Prost is the fastest man on the track, or would be, if only he could get past Alboreto. Alboreto, of course, is on the racing line, which is where he should be. And Prost, now there, Alboreto through to take De Angelis, and 2nd place, Michele Alboreto, to the joy of the Tifosi on the hillside, overlooking the Piratella ascent, is up into 2nd place ahead of Elio De Angelis.
It was so unexpected, Dan. I think De Angelis was expecting it as little as I was, and I think he was just simply caught napping. He was taking the conventional line, not watching in his mirrors, thinking probably that Alboreto was busy dealing with Prost.
Senna laps Baldi. Now Baldi's in the way of Alboreto, and I'll tell you this, if Alboreto catches and gets past Senna, there's going to be a national holiday declared in Italy very shortly, and there'll be a gigantic eruption from the Ferrari Pro crowd.
Yes, I have to say that I think De Angelis is in some sort of trouble. Prost is now taking him. He's going to get him, and Nelson Piquet has come into the pits. Can't see why as yet, but I suspect it might be tyres. I think they may have gone on a soft compound.
Ayrton Senna in the yellow helmet on the Lotus leads Michele Alboreto, number 27 in the Ferrari. Then in 3rd position is Alain Prost. 4th in the white helmet is Elio De Angelis. In 5th position it's Niki Lauda, and now up into 6th position has come Keke Rosberg as Nelson Piquet has gone into the pits, and we are now on lap 13 out of 60. That's De Cesaris. De Cesaris, I wonder if that's a tyre problem, but for whatever reason De Cesaris in the Ligier has gone off. Senna, Alboreto, Prost, De Angelis 4th, Lauda closing up in 5th place. Keke Rosberg is still 6th, with Stefan Johansson starting to challenge in the 2nd Ferrari. In fact, Johansson right up with Rosberg, and I think we're going to see 2 Ferraris in the top 6 before this race is over, and it's not beyond the bounds of possibility that one of them, probably Alboreto, could win.
I have to say, at the moment, looks to be the old story. The McLaren of Alain Prost. McLaren, we know their reliability is good. We know they can run on full power for the full distance without having to conserve fuel. And Prost really looks very comfortable. Lauda is still stuck behind De Angelis.
No, Niki Lauda has now got past Elio De Angelis. He's up into 4th place. There's a gap of only about 6 seconds between world champion Niki Lauda chasing his teammate number 2 there, Alain Prost, who is in 3rd position. And there is Piercarlo Ghinzani in the new Osella in the pits after a very rewarding practice, 9th fastest in the warm-up this morning. Senna, Alboreto, Prost, first, second, third. Lauda fourth and gaining. De Angelis slipping down through the field, fifth but still in the points. Rosberg is in 7th place because Johansson has now definitely passed the Williams, and Stefan Johansson in the Ferrari, the Swedish driver, in his second Grand Prix for the Maranello concern, is in the points.
So we've got 3 leading cars, and now you see how close Niki Lauda is now. That was Niki Lauda in the background, and he's really hauling them in very fast. So we're going to have a 4-way fight for the lead, and the cars are very evenly matched, which is going to make overtaking very difficult, and therefore tactics mighty important.
What an entrancing, intriguing, riveting race this is, because the first 3 are also the leaders in the World Championship. Alboreto is second in the race, leads the World Championship, and Senna, who is leading the race, and Prost, who is third in the race, are second equal with 9 points in the World Championship. Niki Lauda, of course, is really being stung into action because he failed to finish at both Brazil and Portugal, as Alboreto is now really pushing for the lead, and Niki Lauda in 4th position but gaining needs points. And Prost right front almost clips Alboreto's left rear.
Yeah, the problem Alboreto's got now, I said he was starting to look around it, but I think Alboreto's in a bit of trouble and Prost is through. So Alboreto, difficult to say what the problem is, but he certainly seemed to slow a bit and he was blocking everywhere he could, but Prost has finally done it, and I anticipate, and there of course is Lauda in the background getting very close. See, there's little puddles left over from this morning's rain, but of course the racing line is dry, but Prost was forced off the racing line there to drive round Alboreto. That almost looked like a bit of gearbox trouble. It looked as if he missed a gear, but Lauda is on top of Alboreto now, so Alboreto is in definite trouble, and it looks mechanical. I suspect that Alboreto, in fact Alboreto slowed right down, and he looks like it's quite serious. I thought at first it was gearbox, but it's hard to tell from here, but certainly that looks like the end of Alboreto's race, certainly as far as contending for the lead is concerned.
Lauda third, and there, very much in flames, is Jacques Laffite's Ligier. That's obviously a turbo blaze, and of course Laffite will be able to see that conflagration in his wing mirrors. He is coolly parking the car somewhere safe, but he's going to be out of it like a cork out of a bottle in just a moment. And into the pits comes Michele Alboreto, having been right up to second place. Let's see what happens. There's no sign of the tyres being changed. The clock is being run, but it's totally irrelevant, because to the gloom and despondency of the crowd over his left shoulder, Michele Alboreto looks to me as though he's out of the San Marino Grand Prix. And Niki Lauda, with everything to gain by catching and passing his teammate, is now charging for second place. There is the second place man, and you've just seen the caption, which indicated that Niki Lauda is the fastest man on the track, and he's catching Alain Prost. There are no team orders, I repeat, no team orders between Prost and Lauda in the McLaren team.
And Lauda slowed right down then in the chicane before the pits, and you see he's now gone from the picture, but that looks like trouble for Lauda. In the meantime, Niki Lauda has got going again and is holding the gap, although he's some 11 seconds behind Alain Prost at the moment. But Prost is well placed in the tow again, but he only seems to be able to get half alongside the very aerodynamic Lotus, and I don't think that's going to, well, he's not, a lot of pushing each other, but Senna still has the inside for the corner, you see, and that is Alain Prost's problem. Senna is doing everything right in front. Prost is potentially quicker than him, but Prost having a look now, they're all over each other. And this is really tremendous stirring stuff. They're both, Senna, despite his relatively new arrival on the Formula One scene, believe me, is a very experienced driver, very experienced at wheel-to-wheel racing. And he was had the reputation sometimes when being challenged for the lead in Formula 3 of being a little bit hot-headed, a little bit overprotective to his lead. But I think we're looking at a more mature Ayrton Senna now. That was a couple of years ago. But Prost is giving him every ounce of pressure he can.
Both of these men brought up in the very hard, competitive world of kart racing. Senna second in the World Championship twice. Prost the next kart European champion. But Senna withstanding the enormous pressure that the more experienced Grand Prix driver, Alain Prost, is applying to him in an incredibly matured way. Keke Rosberg is out. Lauda is back to 4th position, and Elio De Angelis, as I talk to you, has retaken 3rd position. Niki Lauda must be in some sort of trouble, whether it's gearbox, brakes, tyres, turbo, intercooler or what, I obviously don't know. But nevertheless, the great Austrian world champion is down a place.
Stefan Johansson might just be the quickest man on the track at the moment, because he is something like, well, we'll see 20 seconds behind leader Ayrton Senna. And I wasn't watching the gap very carefully early in the race, but I have a feeling that he was a lot further than that behind, say, 15 laps ago.
And we just saw him momentarily. He's up with and actually passed Niki Lauda. Stefan Johansson in the Ferrari in only his 2nd Grand Prix. There he is for the Italian team. He's now in 4th position. Derek Warwick, by the way, has come into the pits. And Boutsen now, as I talk to you, Boutsen has moved into 6th place in the Arrows BMW ahead of Nelson Piquet. So it's Senna leading Prost, De Angelis 3rd, leading Johansson 4th. Lauda is in 5th position, Boutsen is in 6th place, and so after all their efforts, the Jackie Oliver and Alan Rees and Dave Wass-led team are seeing one of their Arrows cars in the points again, in 6th place.
Stefan Johansson, there he is. He's very close to the Angelis now.
And look at this, because as I said, Boutsen and Piquet, battling for 6th position, have now got right up behind them. De Angelis and Johansson battling for 3rd.
This is a potential opportunity for Johansson to get past, because Boutsen and Piquet are very busy battling amongst themselves, and they're not going to probably have enough time to make room for De Angelis, and so it's essential that Johansson watches very carefully and looks for the gap.
Piquet goes through to 6th ahead of Boutsen. Johansson tries to take, and he does it. Stefan Johansson takes Elio De Angelis and bumps wheels, and now he's going to go through and try and take Boutsen and lap him. De Angelis fights back, but he's lost the opportunity now. And with Stefan Johansson now in 3rd position in the Ferrari, he's done it. He's got past exactly as James said he might. And watch and listen to the crowd.
Fantastic stuff, very exciting stuff. I got nearly as excited as if I'd been in one of the cars then, because Johansson gets through, but he's now blocked by Boutsen, and he's had to force way out. I think they just touched rear wheels then.
This is 53 laps completed. 12 Senna leads, 2 Prost 2nd, 28 Johansson 3rd, 5 seconds behind Prost incidentally, and he's catching him. In 4th position it's De Angelis. 5th is Lauda, who has been lapped. 6th in the points, Nelson Piquet. 7th Boutsen, 8th Mansell, 9th Tombe. Then Eddie Cheever has just retired, so his 10th place has been taken over by Martin Brundle. A magnificent recovery after his big accident yesterday. Johansson goes through and takes Alain Prost. Stefan Johansson is up into 2nd place. Magnificent. Now, watch the Tifosi. See the hats and the arms waving in the background as Little Leaf Stefan Johansson, 28 years old, in only his 12th Grand Prix, only his 2nd Ferrari drive, makes himself the hero of Italy by going up into 2nd place and taking Alain Prost. And the gap now between Senna in the lead and Johansson, who is in 2nd position, catching Nelson Piquet, who is in either 6th or 5th. And look at the flags waving. So Piquet is in 5th place. Niki Lauda has lost that place. Ayrton Senna through the Acqua Minerale bends, climbing now to the Varianta Alta, down into 2nd gear, 95 miles an hour, lapping Derek Warwick again, closing up on Nigel Mansell, who is in 9th position in the Williams, and surges past the Isle of Man driver, Nigel Mansell. And down he goes, Senna, into the Rivazza, the double left.
Senna's in trouble, could be fuel, so Senna slowed right down out of the blue, and one would hand, there is Stefan Johansson right behind him. So, Stefan Johansson set to challenge, and if that's fuel, Senna has no chance of making it. He's slowed right down. Stefan Johansson goes into the lead. What an amazing turn up, and this looks as if Stefan Johansson in his 2nd drive for Ferrari is going to win his first Grand Prix, and that would be quite something. What a wonderful story. He's tried for so many years.
I will tell you this, that the Italian crowd is absolutely beside itself with euphoria and excitement, as well they might be, because as James said, in that dramatic moment, Ayrton Senna has had victory snatched from him by Stefan Johansson in the Ferrari, and Stefan Johansson is now on his 58th lap out of 60.
Yes, and Senna, if it is fuel, which is the obvious suspicion, probably won't pick up any points at all, because he's unlikely to be able to limp round for 3 laps. And that's Johansson. Johansson's in trouble now. Johansson is probably in fuel trouble, and Prost has now gone into the lead.
What an incredible finish to the San Marino Grand Prix. First of all, Senna slows and Johansson passes in to take the lead. Then Johansson does exactly the same thing. Such is the pace of this race. They have been absolutely on maximum fuel consumption. Now we know that the Porsche-designed TAG engine is extremely fuel efficient, and I'll stick my neck out and say it's unlikely that Prost is going to run out of fuel, in which case he will win for the 2nd year in succession.
Yes, well, you see what happened. They had a damp warm-up this morning, and the track this afternoon has been very, very quick, which puts up the fuel consumption. We've seen the lap record being absolutely pulverised during the course of the race. They've gone faster and faster, and this undoubtedly will have thrown the fuel consumption plans. And there is Senna parked off the track, presumably out of fuel, and so Senna not even going to finish this race.
And to confirm that, with Johansson out of the race too, Elio De Angelis is up into 2nd place. Here is the race leader, Alain Prost, on his 59th lap. He has got 1 lap to go when he has dropped downhill here, gone round the double left at the Rivazza, into the Varianta Bassa, onto the Trequardo. He will be into his last 3-mile lap, and Nelson Piquet is out too.
Yes, this extremely fast pace has really caused havoc, but McLarens have always run with a bit of a margin. Now, does Prost know that he's got a huge lead over Elio De Angelis, and therefore can take it really gently around the last lap and not force his fuel consumption?
And he's on his last lap. Prost leading, De Angelis 2nd, Johansson is out, Senna is out, Piquet is out, which means that Boutsen will have moved up into 3rd position. Niki Lauda should be in 4th place, although he has got Tombe right on his tail, so it could be Tombe 4th and Lauda 5th. We won't know until the end of this lap. But now Alain Prost is almost home to win his 18th Grand Prix, which is his 76th race in his 16 years of experience, and in so doing he will add 9 points to the 9 that he got for winning in Brazil. He failed to finish in Portugal, so Prost will be in the lead in the World Championship. I've said this about Senna. I wasn't going to say it about Johansson because he wasn't, but I've said it now about Prost, and Alain Prost has got a very short distance to go. He's only got now the Rivazza bends, the 2 left-handers, And then as he comes up to the Variante Bassa and the Traguardo, the right and then the left and the right left again, he could kick out the clutch and coast home to the checkered flag and victory at San Marino, his second of the year. He's going to do it. Alain Prost is going to win for the second year in succession. Out of the last corner he comes, a victory he probably never expected to get, and Alain Prost is across the line, the winner of the 1985 San Marino Grand Prix. There is Elio De Angelis, second position. Thierry Boutsen has run out of petrol on the starting line as the checkered flag goes out for Elio De Angelis to finish in second place. Boutsen was third, and Patrick Tambay is a lap behind him, and Stefan Johansson actually smiling. Well, there is a man with courage and good humour. He will certainly be the hero of Italy, not only for having led, but for the way he deported himself, having had to retire through no fault of his own after a magnificent victory. And that is Niki Lauda touring in. There's Boutsen pushing in. He's got his front wheels across the line. He's got to get his rear wheels across the line. And now he has done so. So Boutsen has finished. And it's really a matter of conjecture, with Johansson doubling in to receive congratulations and plaudits all round, and well deserved. The fact is that with Prost having run out of fuel on the rundown lap, that's how close it was in this incredible San Marino Grand Prix. And I bet we'll never see a Grand Prix more exciting than that. So, thanks to the fuel efficiency of the TAG engine, victory for the second year in succession goes to Alain Prost in the McLaren. Second, Elio De Angelis. Third, Thierry Boutsen. Fourth, Patrick Tambay. Fifth, Niki Lauda. And sixth, Nigel Mansell. In the Drivers' Championship, Alain Prost now leads Elio De Angelis by 5 points. Third, Michele Alboreto. Fourth, equal, Patrick Tambay and Ayrton Senna. And in sixth position, Thierry Boutsen. The John Player Special Team Lotus team lead the Constructors' Championship 2 points ahead of McLaren, with Ferrari third and Renault in fourth position. Well, it's Monaco maintaining the excitement in 2 weeks' time, but today, without a doubt, the two young men of the race were Ayrton Senna and Stefan Johansson.
Well, the car worked a lot better than it ever did in practice. We did some changes overnight and it improved the car very much.
Now, who did you have trouble getting past in your meteoric climb up to the lead?
Well, Chiva was quite difficult initially, and then De Angelis was very difficult because we were more or less the same speed, and he was very fast in the straight, which is more or less the only place you can overtake in this circuit.
Now, you must have known you'd taken the lead when you saw all the Ferrari fans around the course going absolutely berserk. But when did you know you'd got a fuel problem?
About half a lap later.
A bit disappointed, of course, because after almost pushing the whole race distance, the car was good. Everything was good. I kept the tires, I kept the brakes at the beginning, and I think we ran out of fuel.
But with the crowds pouring away comes the sensational news that Alain Prost, the supposed winner, has been disqualified because his car was found to be underweight at the end of the race. And that means that after all, a John Player Special Team Lotus car did win, that of Elio De Angelis. A wonderful race, one of the most exciting Grand Prix surely of all time, and that augurs well for Monaco in 2 weeks' time. Do be there with Grand Prix.